Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to this week trade recap video. Currently, I have two positions running right now, which is Swiss yen and CAD yen. Let's talk about the Swiss yen CAD yen that is currently running right now in profit. CAD yen is also a trade that I got in again on Friday, and it looks like it's looking to continue this bearish potential run. And I also closed down several positions that were mentioned from last week trade recap video. Euro yen was one of the positions that I did close down, but we'll take a look at what my outlook are on that. And Nasdaq, I actually took two losses here, two entries lost, and we'll go over the entries and overall what I think about the price in the near future. And dollar yen was one of the trades that I closed down for a loss, but together with the previous entry that I got, I resolved it into a break even. So let's start it with Swiss yen. As always, Swiss yen and CAD yen are the two live positions I have right now running. So let's take a look at Swiss yen first. So Swiss yen here, starting from the higher time frame. We know that the price has been impulsively pushing to the downside, and we have a larger kind of a structure in the making. We know that this is a parallel kind of channel structure, and that could lead to a continuation bearish price action. Now, if we dig a little bit deeper into the lower time frame here, we can see that after price initially pushed down and started forming into this kind of a corrected expanding structure, and we have this few swing highs and few swing lows. We have a push down followed by a continuation correction, so basically looking for a bearish continuation on the lower time frame, and that was my entry here on the lower time frame. Look closer, deeper here that we have a few corrections. This was the first potential correction that I could have gotten, but I missed that entry, but I was able to get it on the second entry when price formed another bearish continuation correction. So again, entry order below the correction, stop loss above the high. Price tag me first initially. It was looking like it was going to form some sort of descending structure to reverse up. So at the time, I think I updated everyone in my group during my stream. I moved the stop loss to break even, but it never actually pushed up, and instead it pushed down, formed a little bit of correction, and then pushed down massively, and then continue on further downside on Friday. So it's running about 3%, 3 to 1 right now, 3 to 1 risk reward right now. And my plan here is because we broke through this low already, it formed a correction pushing down. So chances are we're going to get further downside from the price. It's basically waiting for are we going to get another little consolidation here on the lower time frame and then push down and then eventually reaching to the previous low. Or we might just start dropping this on Monday and then form correction halfway and continue lower. Either or, I'm looking to hold this trade. If we do get some sort of corrective structure here, I might consider scaling an entry down to the previous low and then take it from there. So that's the first trade that's running right now. Swiss yen is running about 3 to 1 right now, risk reward. Now let's take a look at CAD yen here. CAD yen was a position I got in on Friday. Now CAD yen, we talk about that the bearish downside. I like how we had a bullish push up after this original bearish push down that we got. Ascending channel reversal push down followed by kind of a pennant structure. And it's breaking out now, so I basically is waiting for some sort of bearish price action to give me another green light to look for a possible entry down to the previous low. Now, if we look at the lower time frame here, I did take a 1% loss from the previous trade. So same kind of price action when price broke out that pennant structure or triangle structure that I mentioned earlier. I was looking for a potential entry, and at the time, this is how I had the price. Remember, when price can easily continue to develop. So what was once a continuation correction and a breakout followed by entry wasn't enough for the price to kick off at this given moment. So basically, my entry at the first entry, I waited for price to break out and waited for a continuation correction. Set the entry order, set the stop loss above this high, price taking it, but basically just hover around and eventually just push up to the high here and taking me out for a full 1% loss. But as we know how price action works, price at the time wasn't ready for the downside, but later on when the price did form a bigger correction, basically it was ready then. So if we see how we can evolve the structure, we know that at the time price wasn't ready, but once we continue to form a bigger correction, we have a few more swing highs and lows. And then the second entry that I was looking at on Friday was basically I had this bullish reversal up move, and then instead of continuation to go higher, what we have here is a bearish reversal down move. So a bearish reversal followed by a bearish continuation. That's how I set the entry order. Below this correction here, set the stop loss above the high here. So pretty generous. I think it's 25 pip stop loss. And during Friday New York session, it just pretty much massively impulsed down. So it's looking pretty good right now. I think it's running about close to 3 to 1 risk reward once again. So 3%, 3 to 1 risk reward. And looking at what the price will do here, is this already a correction to push down the price further. So we'll see how Monday goes. I do want to potentially scale in into this position if it does form another consolidation here, giving me another possible scale in entry. And again, looking for a target down to the previous low, right? So this will be a pretty good sizable trade, just like the one that we have taken back in the day here when the price did push down here from the same kind of price action and was able to take profit when price reverses. But now again, we're basically seeing a similar structure that we could potentially aim for the previous low here for a pretty healthy risk reward here, looking for about 8 to 1 or so risk reward on this second cat yen trade. So that is the second trade that is currently running. It is running about 3 to 1, 3% right now. Let's look at the position that were closed down from last week. If you guys recall, I had a euro yen position that was running. I did have to close down the position when the price did form a descending structure here. So when we originally look at the price, we pushed down. Although it pushed up and my stop loss was at 1 to 1, we didn't get any bullish continuation. So I was happy to just kind of hold the trade if it was going to take me out for a 1 to 1 profit, then so be it. But it kind of reversed back down and then basically forming to a corrective descending structure. So as we know, descending structure are a bullish reversal, right? So that was more of a sign or more on my plan to exit a position when it formed some sort of bullish reversal. Whereas something like here, it was a bullish impulse up, but wasn't followed by bullish continuation. So I didn't exit the trade here. Now we can see the descending channel which started forming. So I basically just set my alert here as I move down my stop loss to about above that descending structure in case it's going to push up. And eventually it did push up here, so it pegged me out for I think 2.8%, so 2.821 risk reward. And price basically continued moving up here. And of course, I wouldn't know how the price will continue to develop, but now that we look back at this, when the price finished correcting, when the price basically pushed to the upside in a more of a ascending structure, and it created this structure here with a few swing highs and few swing lows. So, but basically correcting this down move, we had this correction here, and then price impulsive down to the downside. So what do I see from moving forward on Euro Yen? Well, we can see that price did impulsively push to the downside. We are basically breaking past this previous low here. So there's a correction here. Whether or not this is enough of a correction or maybe we might develop a little bit further. But I do think the downside here is still promising and still the bias here to look for further downside. I think there is still quite a bit of room to the downside if you see this as a potential structure that is making. If we get continuation here and if we pass this low, I do expect price to eventually hit the bottom here, which was going to be my original second target for this initial position. So that is Euro Yen. I did get off for a 2.8 to 1, 2.8% to 1 risk reward, but I can still look back into this because if we do finish this expanding structure, if we look at where the price is at, we have quite a bit more room to the downside if we finish this correction and then basically push down towards the low here. Now let's talk about Nasdaq because Nasdaq was two trades I entered that went to a loss. So Nasdaq analysis here, it's pretty much the same bias that we talk about on the US indices for quite a bit of time now. We have that larger high time frame ascending channel, price moving up here, push to upside, basically had a reversal kind of correction here. And it is pushing down now, right? So on next week, certainly there's going to be further opportunity for us. But in terms of entry, I did enter two positions, which all end up in a loss. Well, the first position here was when I see the price initially first break down, impulsively down from this reversal correction. I was basically looking for a correction, some sort of bearish continuation. At the time, I saw this mini correction with a few swing highs and lows. I just set the entry order stop loss above the high of the correction, just like what I would normally do. And basically price tag me in and basically just quickly pull up here and eventually tag me out here for a full percent loss. I didn't even hit the price back to the entry point. So I took a loss here, but on the, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday morning when I see the price basically form into another continuation correction, just slightly larger, right? Slightly larger correction was larger than this one, but the overall down move, the overall bias doesn't change from a higher time frame down to lower time frame. So I opt in with another entry order just right here before the price is going to impulsively push down and eventually just hover around here once more. So my stop loss was above the high here. You can see price basically just, again, it didn't really move down much. It didn't really do too much. It kind of just hover around this area. And there's really no entry here for me or no way to move my stop loss to break even or in profit because it hasn't even hit one-to-one risk reward yet, and there is no reason to basically move the stop loss to break even. So I just let the trade run here, and I think it was on Thursday, after the New York session or so, it basically push up here and take me out for a full 1% loss. Now on Friday, when we get this kind of a head and shoulder pattern and price impulsively break the larger correction, no? Well, what does that signify? Well, what was a correction that I was looking at just wasn't enough once again, but it just create a larger correction. So what was the smaller correction wasn't enough, the medium correction wasn't enough, but it looks like the larger correction does look like we have a confirmed impulsive move now. So how I will approach this next week, well, waiting for a correction here, right? I think it will be nice. The analysis from the higher time frame doesn't change. We still have quite a bit of room to the downside. So if we do get a correction here, I don't mind entering back here again, looking for a sell. I think the risk reward is there, the overall higher time frame bias is there, and the lower time frame is looking clean for a potential downside now that we basically completed this larger structure here. So that is kind of how I will look at into Nasdaq next week. But this week wise, I did take 2 position loss, or 2% loss here. Last trade I want to go over is dollar yen. Dollar yen, we did take a 1% loss here at the beginning of the week, but it basically canceled out from my initial position. So they got a 1% profit here from the previous week, which I put in the recap video. And this week I take a 1% loss here, so basically balance it out. Now, in terms of entry, we went over this in the recap video, but in terms of management wise, well, it tagged me in here, but basically just hover around the red here. Didn't really push down much at all, and basically they continue push the upside and basically tag me out here. Not much else I can do at the time. I mentioned in terms of my entry, I thought the entry was fine because I thought the price was already breaking out of this continuation correction, so it impulsed down from the top here and then form kind of a steeper channel, but to me it could be a continuation correction to go further. So that's what the entry that I got, but it just didn't really continue downwards and hover around in the red and eventually take me out for a full 1% loss. But like I said, good risk management wise, because my first initial position was 1% profit, so basically just cancel each other out in this scenario. And that is it for dollar yen. So to recap here, dollar yen was able to take a 1% loss here, but break even overall on the position. Nasdaq here, I did enter 2 position, which end up in a 2% or two trades loss. Euro yen, I did end up closing down the trade for about 2.8% to 1. And looking forward to potential downside further if we do get lower time frame correction here to push down lower. And the only 2 trades that I'm currently running right now, it is Swiss yen and CAD yen. So CAD yen here is running about 3% right now. Looking forward to see if the downside move will continue. If we form a correction here, I do expect the down move to continue all the way to the bottom here. And last one here it is Swiss yen. So Swiss yen is also running about 3 to 1 right now in profit, and looking to see again if we're going to get lower time frame correction to push down lower. My kind of target here is that previous low here for about 8.25 to 1 or so. So there it is, guys. That is my recap video for this week. 2 positions still running and 3 positions that closed down. Any question, comment, feedback, welcome to let me know, guys. And if you like these recap videos, you want to see more of these, please let me know. Please subscribe, follow, and I will do more consistently. Thank you very much, and have a good weekend, everyone.